Chapter 21. Voices pulled me from a heavy dream state and snapped me back to reality, or possibly it was the drool running down the side of my face. Everyone had gathered around Daniel, who was retelling the entire story. I noticed that the crowd had grown larger since I drifted off, with Jack Richter, the financial lobbyist, as well as Marcus and Gladys. Nella was sitting beside Daniel, smiling as he retold the story with great enthusiastic verve. He was a most generous storyteller, painting a picture of Nella like the warrior goddess Athena, wiping a cloud of bullets out of the sky with the swipe of her hand and pulling full-grown trees from the ground to crush the pack of hunters. Then he got to my part, describing how I saved Shadrach, pulling the bullet out and healing his wound. I could see the mound of fur still lying in front of Daniel, with Mac kneeling beside him. "You should have seen Finn," Daniel continued. "Totally focused. He had no idea that bullets were flying just inches from his face. I could feel the waves of cold coming off him. The power was moving. I just knew he would save Shad. Even Zoo said Finn did a good job." "Huh," was all Zoo replied. "Thanks, buddy." All attention was drawn to the opening door as Lexi and Tony walked in. "Damn it," Nella shouted. "Doesn't anyone obey orders anymore? This is serious, people. Stay away does not mean race here at top speed and draw as much attention to our location as possible." To my surprise, they pretty much ignored her, and Lexi plopped down beside Nella and hugged her tightly around the neck. "All right, let's hear it again," Lexi demanded. "And I don't care if you've heard it before." Zoo threw his hands up and turned to walk away, obviously bored with the story by now. He saw me sitting awake and silently motioned for me to follow. We went to the far corner of the room that was kept totally dark, and to my surprise it was actually a larger hallway that led to another section of the warehouse. There were no windows along the walls, but there were several rooms lining the hall. We went to the first door and opened it, to reveal another long hallway running parallel to the great room. "These are bedrooms. Each bedroom has its own bathroom. We all have a room here. You can pick any room that does not have a name on it." Walking down the hall, I saw the names of each person I had met so far, including a joint room for Mac and Juliet. There were also a few names I didn't recognize. Finally, I came to a door that had a piece of paper taped to it, and written in bright blue marker was Finn. "Apparently my room has already been picked out," I said. Zoo just nodded and we went inside. The room was fairly small, but had a bed and a desk with a sink at one end. It reminded me of a college dorm room. There was another room to a tiny bathroom and shower. "The boy put that up 2 months ago," Zoo said, pointing to the paper name sign. "We will get you a real one, made like all of ours." No, this is fine." I didn't know if I was saying it because I liked the fact that Daniel was excited to meet me before I even knew he existed, or because I didn't want anything permanent tying me to a place. I cannot do the caged bird thing again. "Follow me," Zoo said, and we went back a few doors to where his name hung on the wall. "We will begin your lesson for the day." Inside his room, I immediately noticed that it seemed larger, mostly because the bed was missing, replaced by a thick carpet and several pillows along the wall. "Remove shoe and sit." Following his lead, I kicked off my shoes beside the door and sat opposite him on the floor. "Today's lesson is about the essence of a power and how to connect to it. You are most familiar with Christianity, correct?" "Sure, I was raised Christian. I like to consider myself a recovering Catholic." No laughs. Tough crowd. Zoo continued his emotionless lecture. "The power is much older than Christianity. People have been connecting to the power long before the name Jesus was ever considered holy and before faith, hope, and love were ever uttered in the same sentence. The power came from another place of existence, where God and Lucifer and the angels and demons all exist. It is a place with connections to this world, but it is not this world. My people, Buddhists, have been connecting to the power for centuries before Christianity. Of course,
The true message of Buddhism has been scattered and distorted the same way Christianity has. The core goal is the same, to end suffering and cycle of rebirth. I will teach you that the power of creation is achieved through enlightenment. Put another way, enlightenment is a way to connect to the world beyond this one, the world where angels and demons exist.
Nothing surprised me anymore, apparently. I just shrugged and nodded for him to continue.
Meditation is the most common way Buddhists connect to the power. It is a requirement to achieve enlightenment. Let us begin by getting in proper posture.
Hold on, Zhu. I have some questions. He looked irritated back at me. Why don't Nella and the others teach meditation and enlightenment with the power? And if Buddhists have been in touch with the power for so long, why aren't they leading the charge against the fallen?
Who says they are not?
Zhu let that statement sink in for a while.
In truth, meditation and enlightenment are a big part of your Catholicism. For many hours are spent saying a rosary, chanting prayers and psalms, holding hands, offering petitions. These are all forms of meditation, and if done properly, can put a person in connection with power. Unfortunately, as with Christianity, most Buddhists achieve enlightenment for the sake of being enlightened and nothing else. The power is touched and nothing more. Never mind the good that come from touching power. They are content to be complacent, and they die sanctimonious and weak.
I reflected back on my upbringing. I take it that being a judgmental, self-righteous hypocrite doesn't work with the power. Zhu raised an eyebrow in response. I may still have some anger issues.
Let us begin by assuming proper position. Sit cross-legged with back straight but not arched. Imagine crown or top of head pushing towards ceiling. Your wrists rest gently on knees, palms up. Lightly touch your index finger and thumb together as if holding a thin piece of paper. Very good. For now, we just focus on breathing. In through nose, out through mouth, slowly. Focus only on breathing, nothing else.
At first, everything seemed fairly simple. Sure, I can sit, I can breathe. Now, stop thinking. That's a bit harder for me. Typically, my mind is on continuous overdrive, analyzing and recalculating everything.
Clear your mind,
Zhu spoke in total monotone.
As a thought enter your mind, identify it and push it aside. Focus only on your breathing.
Did I leave the iron on? Do I even have an iron? Is an iron made of iron, or is it aluminum these days? Aluminum would be lighter and easier to handle, but possibly more expensive, and may warp with continuous use, heating and cooling. Yeah, probably still made of iron. Stainless steel would make sense so it won't rust.
Relax your face, Finn. You are too tense. Loosen your hands. It is supposed to be a gentle touch. You are slouching, Finn.
After several posture adjustments, I could hear that Zhu was getting a bit frustrated. I peeked out to see if he was still observing me, and there he sat, glaring at me, shaking his head. With a big loud exhale, I slouched back against the pillows and straightened my legs, cracking both knees. Pretty good, Zhu. I feel quite relaxed, but I don't see how to tap into the power that way.
And you probably never will,
he replied with a tinge of disgust in his voice. He got up and opened the door for me to leave.
You will need a great deal of work. You think too much and it gets in way. If you cannot clear your mind, then you are susceptible to be overwhelmed in the heat of battle. Meditation teach focus. Your ability to focus is paltry.
That may be true, but I did figure out that your iron is probably made of stainless steel. He looked back at me as if I had 3 heads. I get that a lot.